Presentation of TNT Sports, where the National Football League kicks off on August 19th.
The Brazilian World Cup of 1950 was the site of the greatest upset in soccer history. An afterthought collection of U.S. players upset the balance of power, beating England 1-0. After 40 years, the Americans have finally returned to the world's most spectacular sporting event. The World Cup is the dream of every player who has ever kicked a ball. And for Paul Caligiuri of the United States, that dream was realized with one swing of his leg. Generations of frustration swept aside. America rejoins the world. Along with Mick Luckhurst, this is Bob Neal in Florence, Italy, where today, after an absence of 40 years, the United States soccer team will return to World Cup action. After the very difficult qualification in the CONCACAF region, the United States team has been dress rehearsing, tuning up, if you will, for the big leagues of world-class soccer. And today, Mick Luckhurst here in Florence, it'll all get underway.
These young men are excited. They're ready to go, and they're encouraged. Cameroon just beaten Argentina. They think they can win, and I do as well. They're led by Mike Windishman, a young man, but he's the most capped player in American history. He brings a little maturity, and he slows the pace down. Key player, though, Tab Ramos. He's a playmaker. He moves the ball around. He makes things happen for Murray and Vermees up front. They're young. What does Czechoslovakia bring? Youth and maturity. The maturity in the face of Hovanets. He's a great player, former player of the year, and he's going to set the pace. The exciting player is Bilek. He's the present player of the year in Czechoslovakia and leading goal scorer. They could have trouble with him.
So for the United States soccer team, they're facing adversity. A lot of the people here in Italy feel they do not have a chance in World Cup play. But the United States team remembers that big upset over England 40 years ago. We'll be back with the kickoff from Florence, Italy, right after this.
The 1990 World Cup on TNT is being brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. By Tums, the sodium-free antacid that's rich in calcium. And by Coke Classic, you can't beat the real thing.
From Comunale Stadium in Florence, Italy, Bob Neal and Mick Luckhurst with you. It's been 39 years since 39 years, 11 months, and 22 days since the United States has played in a World Cup final match. This is first round Group A action against Czechoslovakia. The United States in the white jerseys, blue shorts, Czechoslovakia in the red jerseys. Ready for the kickoff. About 33,000 people here in Florence today. Stadium seats about 41,000.
The 1990 World Cup on TNT is being brought to you by Bud Dry. Dry brewed for no aftertaste. By Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. By Tums, the sodium-free antacid that's rich in calcium. And by Coke Classic, you can't beat the real thing.
At halftime, the U.S. down to the Czechs 2-0. I'm Ernie Johnson in our TNT World Cup studios in Atlanta, joined by one of the greatest names in American soccer history, Kyle Rote Jr. Thanks for being here. And you look at Florence, Kyle, things not exactly going the way the U.S. would like.
No, Ernie, and I think the early success of Novacek being able to penetrate the left side of the American defense has really been a precursor to what happened later on there in the first half, as they were able to get good offensive penetration and success. A little bit frustrating for the Americans, always a good physical team, but of course technically we've seen the Czechoslovakians really be able to penetrate with good combination play, and I know that's tough on the American team.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first half. The American fans obviously happy to be there, but not a whole lot to cheer about in that first 45.
No, but one of the nice parts of it was this pass from Mike Windishman. Czechs always very strong in midfield, and of course they expect exposed themselves somewhat at the back because of that. John Harkes, with really the Americans' best chance in the first half, unfortunately, probably the only good chance for the U.S. team.
Tony Meola, a busy man in the first half.
And here, Novacek in the corner is able to get the ball inside to Bielek, and Bielek, the Sparta Prague star, was a free kick specialist, misses from point-blank range. Another fortunate opportunity for the Americans there. Then of this first goal, the Czech goal, as Moravicek pulls 3 defenders towards him, Skarabi is there to put the Czechs up 1-0, and that really began the momentum that now this crowd behind them brought up to this penalty kick as Windishman foul in the penalty area. Tony Meola
really
no chance. It's always a 95-98% opportunity, and the tremendous skill that we saw Bielek able to show us in the first half, not only from the penalty spot, from on the field, it was a mismatch. Yeah.
The Czechs leading 2-0 over the United States. And in Group A, what's it going to take for the U.S. to get out of this group?
3 points will guarantee them into that second round. 2 points possibly, depending on how competition goes in the other groups.
All right, just ahead, Paul Ryden serves up another Michelin travelogue, and bring your appetite with you. And welcome back to World Cup 1990. Time to spend another couple minutes with Paul Ryden, our man about town in Italy. Now, if you go to an Italian restaurant in the U.S., no matter how good the food is, somebody's bound to say, yeah, but it's not real Italian food. So while cruising through the mountains of southern Italy, Paul set his sights on a genuine Italian meal. Here's Paul with another Michelin travelogue.
It's Sunday afternoon in Santa Croce del Sogno.
Molto attenta sempre la nostra regia nel terreno padano.
So this is life in a typical little Italian village nestled for hundreds of years in the Apennine Mountains. And I wouldn't be awfully surprised if one particular sound had been heard every week since the year 1200, the sound of Sunday supper.
In an effort to experience Italian cooking up close, we invited ourselves to the home of the Cristofaro family and found that Southern hospitality isn't limited to Dixie. Here in Southern Italy, replace grits with antipasta and you're off on a gastronomical joyride.
Michelina, what do you like best about Sunday supper?
Siamo tutti insieme, tutta la famiglia, nipoti, tutti riuniti. Abbiamo fatto una bella cena.
And whether you're from right down the street or from across the Atlantic, rest assured, as long as there is pasta in a place setting, you're welcome. Thanks.
Quello è un bravo ragazzo, però mangia poco, ma è bravo. È un ragazzo tanto buono.
So we say ciao. Ew, let's not use that word. Arrivederci to Santa Croce del Sogno. Next time through, whenever that is, it'll still be standing. It always has.
Addio, addio, addio. Saluto l'Italia, via.
And welcome back to our World Cup studio in Atlanta and our guest all day today, Kyle Rote Jr. Kyle, I know you never had the chance to play in the World Cup. You played on the national team, but what's it like now to watch these guys in Italy?
Well, Ernie, this generation of players, they're the beneficiaries of many, many other years of those of us who played on the team, the public that has supported the national team for years, and it's nice to see us finally to be able to compete in the World Cup and not just try to be part of the qualification, which frankly was about as good as we could expect for many, many years.
Kind of a sense of camaraderie you have with these guys as they're in Italy now, and it's indeed an emotional time not only for the players carrying the U.S. hopes into World Cup 1990, but for the families who have made the trip to Italy. Our Craig Sager caught up with a few.
It's hard for many Americans to comprehend what it's like to play in a World Cup or even to be here, but I guess you, for one, would know what it's like.
Well, yes, well, the World Cup is the biggest sporting event, you know, and for just to have your boy play in that, it's unbelievable, you know. It was my dream, everybody's soccer dream, you know, to play in a World Cup, and my son's there. It's unbelievable.
When do you remember Tony first talking about a dream of playing in a World Cup?
All his life he was dreaming about this, and now it's true. His dream came true.
What about growing up? He was also a great baseball player and basketball player. The American dream usually is to play in a World Series.
But soccer's inside his blood. He's Italian, it's his blood, and that's why the soccer is a big thing for him.
What's happening back at the barber shop?
It's closed, big sign, closed, gone to the World Cup.
All right, thank you very much, Craig Sager. Coming up the second half, the U.S. and Czechoslovakia. It's the World Cup live on TNT.
Bob Neal and Mick Luckhurst with you back in Florence, Italy. The good news is we are coming to you from one of the most beautiful places on earth, about 3 hours north of Rome, Florence, Italy. The bad news is the United States taking a real shellacking, even though they're down 2-0. Czechoslovakia has dominated the game and the U.S. defense with critical errors.
That's right. Florence is a beautiful city, but the U.S. is not finding it very beautiful right now. Czechoslovakia dominating the game. Tab Ramos, the guy that wanted to come in, dictate the pace for the U.S., really hasn't stamped his authority on the game. He's not happy with what's happening. I'll be interested to see if Coach Gansler makes any changes.
United States trailing 2-0. Skuravi scoring on an open shot right in front of Meola, and Bilek scoring on a penalty kick. On the first goal, it was an open net virtually for Skuravi as he...
Important thing here, Bob. Watch Stolmeyer. I think he pulled back off of the tackle. That's very unlike him. He normally wouldn't do that. He's out of the play now. Now watch the 3 U.S. players going to the man with the ball. Boom, into the middle, open net.
Meola,
giving
no
Tony
chance.
Meola no chance at all. 2 mistakes there. Right now we see Mike Windishman, and this is very unusual for him. He relaxed, mental error, bam. You can't do that against world-class players. 2 mistakes, 2 goals. We're into the second half.
So the United States has lost 5-1 in their first game in the World Cup in 40 years. Czechoslovakia, the winner here today. And Mick Luckhurst, we talk about regrouping. Bob Gansler, the coach of this young team.
I think his job right now is going to be more in the psychological side of things. He's got to lift this young team up, tell them, hey, we're here to gain experience. We're here to show that the people back in America that we can play. We are good soccer players. And I think they did that today. Psychologically, Bob Gansler cannot allow this team to get down. They've got 2 big games coming up. Everyone in America is watching them. Everyone in the world is watching them. They've got to keep their heads up, keep doing what they did today and playing hard. Coach Gansler's got a tough job, but I think this team will regroup, come back and have a good game.
The Czechoslovakian national team, very well balanced, very good games from several players today. But we've selected a man who really set the pace earlier for our Budweiser player of the game, down the wing, beating Armstrong, beating other defenders too, and it was Novlicek.
That's right. Novlicek to me today. We said early on Czechoslovakia had to come in and stamp their authority on the game. He did that. He was their leader. He made things happen. He was giving Des Armstrong a hard time. Des trying moving in, but he dictated the pace of the game, and we have to give it to him. He did go off in the second half, but I think that was as much to rest him as anything else.
And we might say that Tony Meola for the United States had a great game despite the loss. He was like a goalie on a dart team. They fired on him all day long, 90+ minutes worth. And it was Paul Caligiuri who got the lone United States goal appropriate. He was the man who scored the goal to beat Trinidad Tobago to get the United States in the World Cup, to bring them here to Comunale Stadium in Florence, Italy. So the Caligiuri goal was the significant play offensively for the United States.
And it's a well-taken goal. Intercepted pass. Bruce Murray making a great pass. So Paul starts the movement by intercepting the pass, beats his man. The key here, Bob, he keeps his head. Beats the goalkeeper well, makes a great shot, and that's a bright spot. That's something to build on for the whole team. They've scored a goal. Bruce Murray excited, the whole team excited. They need to show that sort of thing. They need to show Tony Meola and his efforts. Accentuate the positive.
Coming up later this afternoon, 2:55 Eastern Time, Sweden and Brazil from Turin as World Cup coverage continues on TNT until the championship match on July 8th from Olympic Stadium in Rome. You're looking at the beautiful countryside in northern Italy, 3 hours north of Rome in Florence, where today Czechoslovakia beat the United States by a score of 5-1. Coming up, Kyle Rote Jr. joins Ernie Johnson Jr. in our studios in Atlanta to recap all of the ongoing World Cup action. For Mick Luckhurst, this is Bob Neal saying arrivederci from Florence.
Good night.